Let's switch gears, if we may. Turn to the G8 summit underway in Italy. Bloomberg News' Francine Lacroix is there with Jose Barroso, President of the European Commission. Francine.
Thank you very much. And we're almost at the end of today's working session. And I'm very pleased to announce this very special guest, the President of the European Commission, Mr. Jose Manuel Barroso. Now, you count today as a success. We've spoken about exit plans, for example. Would you qualify this as one of the most important things that we can commit to for a sustainable recovery?
What was important today in this economic discussion was a real informal discussion about how we can coordinate our action. We have decided that we should prepare exit plans, but we are not yet there. Unfortunately, we think that we are going on negative territory for some time. But of course, we also agree that we cannot stand forever those high levels of debt. So it is important to be ready for exit strategies. But the message today was to focus on the implementation of the recovery plans that we agreed that we are implementing in Europe or United States or in other parts of the world.
When are we going to see a recovery that would allow these plans to come into action?
It's not completely sure when it can come. In fact, our prediction for Europe is during 2010, the recovery may come. But in fact, we are expecting the unemployment still to rise. So it's a very volatile situation. We are not yet out of the crisis. But of course, it seems that now the free fall is over, that the most difficult moment is behind us. And so we should monitor the situation carefully and see in an articulated way how we can prepare the exit strategies. But for now, we should concentrate on the implementation of the recovery plans.
What about currencies? Is this going to be one of the topics, for example, tomorrow? There has been quite a lot of pressure from emerging markets.
Yes, today this was not discussed. There were the G8, and G8 also Russia, as you know, is member. That matter was not mentioned, but probably tomorrow there will be some reference to that. I personally believe it's important not to put the currencies ones against the others. I mean, the dollar is a very important and will remain a very important currency. The euro, we are very proud that in such a short period the euro became the second currency, and it's indeed an anchor for stability in Europe and also projecting stability worldwide. So probably what is more important is to have a stable relations between the main currencies.
But do you believe that we do need a debate on the global currencies as a whole on the longer term?
We can always debate, but I really don't think that's the real problem now. The real problem now is the lack of growth and possibly the fact that it will be difficult to come back to the levels of growth that we had before, and also the need to regulate and supervise correctly in a sensible manner the financial markets. I think these are the most important matters, and of course some measures that are needed to fight unemployment. That is the most important social challenge we have now.
So regarding trade talks, there is possibly an agreement for the G8 plus the G5 in agreeing to have a WTO agreement by 2010.
Yes.
Is that going to be?
I hope so. In fact, I've mentioned this also during my talks today, and President Obama also mentioned the issue in a constructive manner. We hope that by Pittsburgh there are clear instructions given to the ministers of trade or our trade negotiators to start a real progress now, a real process focusing on a target date. And I think the target should be 2010. It's a realistic target to have a Doha breakthrough.
So climate change, there are differences between the developed countries and more of the emerging economies. Do you believe they'll be able to overcome their difference and have targets for 2050?
What we have achieved today is really very impressive. I want first of all to underline that, because it's the first time. I was last year in Toyako in Japan, 2 years ago in Germany. And at that time it was impossible to agree on the 2 degrees Celsius reference by science, so that we should limit the rise of temperature, and to have a so clear objective of a target of 80% reduction for developed countries of emissions by 2050. And this is very important. So the G8 took today a very ambitious approach. Of course, it's not yet where we want all of the members to be, because we in the European Union, we have committed to very clear and, in fact, binding legal targets for 2020. Anyway, I think some momentum is being created for Copenhagen. And tomorrow we are going to discuss this with the big emerging economies, that asking them to take also their part of responsibility. Of course, we understand they are in a different position, but if the climate change is a global problem, we cannot respond to a global problem without a global solution.
So you talk about momentum for Copenhagen. Are we actually going to get a deal?
I hope so. Now, the question is the level of ambition. And precisely, we can do it only if we engage the big emerging economies like China, like India. And that is what we are going to discuss tomorrow. But I think the fact that today, at the G8 level, we have achieved this level of convergence that we were not there last year in Japan. For instance, Europeans and Americans were not in such a convergent position. This bodes well for the possibility of progress for Copenhagen.
President, thank you so much. Carol, I'm going to hand it back to you, but of course we're going to be live tomorrow and on Friday, and we'll bring you all the latest here on Bloomberg.
All right, look forward to it, Francine.